On World News Tonight this Thursday, accusations of outrageous sex crimes at an Army base. Female recruits raped and abused by their superiors.
That is unacceptable conduct for soldiers. It's unacceptable to the Army, and we have zero tolerance for that type of thing.
Rage on the road. The number of angry drivers attacking other drivers is going up. And on Solutions, getting health care to the people who need it most. It's free and it works.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Sitting in tonight, Forrest, Sawyer.
Good evening. A major sex abuse scandal is emerging tonight in the U.S. Army, and the extent of it is still not clear. An officer and 2 drill sergeants are accused of sexually assaulting dozens of women recruits at an Army base in Aberdeen, Maryland. But investigators believe many more alleged abusers and victims may be involved. As many as 1,000 young women are expected to be interviewed. With some 68,000 women in the Army, the Pentagon is still struggling to integrate them into the ranks. And today's report is a troubling sign of just how far the Army has to go. ABC's national security correspondent John McWethy has details.
It all took place at the Army base at Aberdeen Proving Ground, where
these young soldiers deserve adult leadership. And in some cases, I'm sad to report, didn't get it. And that's not good enough.
Soldiers at Aberdeen were stunned.
We've been taught this over and over again and trained this, but evidently it hadn't sunk into some.
Chief of Staff of the Army, General Dennis Reimer, said an Army-wide investigation of all training commands is now underway.
That is unacceptable conduct for soldiers. It's unacceptable to the Army, and we have zero tolerance for that type of thing.
In a recent survey by the Defense Department of sexual harassment in the ranks, the Army scored the lowest of all the services when females were asked whether their senior officers were responsive to their complaints. Investigators are now going back and interviewing every female who had training at Aberdeen during the last 2 years. Army sources stress this investigation is far from complete. Officials say they are now looking for possible conspiracies, wondering how so many women could have been assaulted without the commanders hearing about it. It is anticipated in the months ahead that other male soldiers will be charged and the list of victims will grow. John McWethy, ABC News, the Pentagon.
Joining us now is Clifford Alexander, who served as Secretary of the Army during the Carter administration. Sir, John McWethy asks a very good point. At an Army base and where training is going on, how could this have happened, if indeed it did happen, where supervision is presumably so strict?
Well, clearly supervision was lax, but what we must not do now is have another study, another set of training for the soldiers. These instances must be accepted for what they are, heinous behavior, and those who are proven guilty must be punished accordingly. It is much like, I think, what we've seen in the racial arena with some officials from Texaco, where indeed there is a tolerance at the highest level of improper behavior, and then people talk about having diversity training or training of soldiers. It isn't about training, it is about penalizing those who violate the basic tenets of this society.
Mr. Alexander,
it's about taking this more seriously.
There have been other sex scandals. Tailhook comes to mind. Is there something about the climate? Is there something about the atmosphere that allows this to take place?
There are sex scandals within the civilian society. They're within the corporate community. There are cases as recently as yesterday in the brokerage community. There are within the networks of ABC, CBS, and NBC. It is a part of this society that has to be rooted out by A, penalizing those who engage in it, B, setting the tone that says that we must treat people with dignity, whatever their sex and whatever their backgrounds. We are far too often accepting the little edges that are really indeed beyond edges. They are taking the dignity away from people. In this instance, we're looking at criminal behavior, and I have no doubt that Secretary West and the people in the Defense Department will be sure to take care of criminal behavior. But we have a broader problem in the society when it comes to addressing these issues, and we need to address it with seriousness and with certainty, not another study.
Thank you, sir. Clifford Alexander, former Secretary of the Army, and certainly we'll be hearing more about that story. When we come back, we will have the rest of the news. Terror on America's highways, aggressive drivers more violent than ever before. On Solutions tonight, how to get medical care to the people who need it the most. A simple plan that could work in your town. And the most ambitious push yet to explore possible life on Mars.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, brought to you by Tylenol PM.
It was midnight. I'm hurting. I can't sleep, but I'm worried about taking something. Is it okay? What am I going to feel like in the morning? Finally, I try Tylenol PM. It stops my pain, helps me sleep. The Tylenol PM did the job. Next morning, I'm up with the sun and I feel great. It was our best run in weeks. A great way to start the day.
Rest easy. It's Tylenol PM.
If your minty mouthwash tastes a little too medicine-y to you, it may smell medicine-y to them.
It was like kissing a hospital.
Who wants a minty mouthwash that smells so medicine-y? Get kissably close with Scope. Its invigorating tingle tells you it's killing millions of germs. Its minty taste tells you just how minty fresh your breath can be. Get kissably close with Scope.
There is a report out today that anyone who drives a car can identify with. If you think it is getting to be more and more of a jungle on the road, you're right. A survey by the American Automobile Association says that in the last 5 years, the number of drivers who became so enraged they attacked other drivers has gone up as much as 50%. Here's ABC's Lisa Stark.
In Dallas, one driver shot another. He later died after a fight that began when their cars brushed each other while passing. Just 2 weeks ago in North Carolina, a 7-car pileup after a driver slammed on his brakes, angry that the driver behind him wanted to pass. And in Virginia, one car cut off another. The drivers raced each other for miles before plowing into 2 other cars. 3 people died, including Stephen McBrien's wife.
I know that the aggressive driving is destroying a lot of lives. It's profoundly and horribly affected the lives of my kids.
The study found more than 10,000 violent traffic disputes since 1990, leading to 218 deaths, more than 12,000 injuries. Most of the aggressive drivers were men. Only 4% were women.
I think it represents just the tip of the iceberg. For every one of the incidents we've identified, there are tens or hundreds of thousands of others that never get reported to the police.
Police say most aggressive drivers are just normal people under stress.
The roads are crowded, and people are dying for this space. They're in a hurry to get to work, and they're just generally just frustrated about things in general, and they have this propensity to be a little bit violent.
There is no surefire way to avoid aggressive drivers, but the experts say ignore them. Do not make eye contact or do anything to set them off. Lisa Stark, ABC News, Washington.
In central Kentucky today, a spectacular fire swept through a whiskey distillery. High winds sending flames hundreds of feet into the air, and a river of burning alcohol through several buildings. Nearby homes were evacuated. No one was hurt. Medical news: a new disclosure law has gone into effect in Massachusetts today that may dramatically affect how patients choose their doctors. Massachusetts is the first state in the nation where citizens can make a toll-free phone call to get sensitive information about doctors' backgrounds, including criminal records and malpractice awards. In Boston, here's ABC's George Strait.
Good morning, Physician Profiles.
Operators fielded more than 600 calls from people all over Massachusetts who wanted to check out their doctors.
Medical School, Columbia University College of Physicians and Surgeons.
In addition to the education they've received, these doctor profiles include information that has been virtually impossible to get, such as the number of malpractice awards paid out, hospital disciplinary actions, even criminal convictions. It's all available instantly and free of charge.
It gives consumers more information than they had before in a package that I think can be useful to them to use as a tool when they evaluate their decisions over healthcare providers.
Jackie Demers wishes that tool had been available when she had a hysterectomy. When she went home, her incision reopened. She's accused her doctor of botching the job. What she didn't know is her doctor had a history of similar problems.
If I had received the information either from an 800 number or from the Board of Registration of Medicine, I would have never gone to him. Never.
The state will spend $100,000 a year to operate the system. While it's been endorsed by the Massachusetts Medical Society, many individual physicians worry consumers might misinterpret the information because it does not include factors such as whether doctors perform high or low-risk surgery.
many of the physicians who are doing high-risk procedures, who are taking on poor-risk patients, will find that they might be sued more than other physicians.
Several states are paying close attention to the experiment here in Massachusetts, for if it works, consumer groups say they'll push for similar profiles for other professions, such as lawyers. George Strait, ABC News, Boston.
One more bit of medical news tonight. Important news for 50 million American women who get pap smears every year to detect cervical cancer. The Food and Drug Administration says that a new test that was first approved last May is, quote, significantly more effective than the old one. It eliminates the problem of smudged laboratory slides, which have resulted in so many misdiagnoses. This new test should be more accurate in detecting cancer at its earliest stages. When we come back, doing the cabinet shuffle, the Secretary of State makes it official. He is quitting.
Denture wearers don't let anything keep you from getting close, especially denture odor. Get Polident. It's loaded with minty mouthwash ingredient. It controls denture odor and cleans tough stains in just 5 minutes. Get Polident fresh and granddaughter close.
What laxative do I use to relieve constipation? To get back to normal, I get back to nature with Nature's Remedy, the laxative with gentle, all-natural active ingredients that work overnight. For constipation, try Nature's gentle laxative, Nature's Remedy.
It's a whole new way to travel. Why didn't anybody think of this before?
Introducing the revolutionary new Easy Cart from Samsonite Brands.
These shelves are great. No more packing and unpacking throughout the entire trip.
Designed with a 4-wheel system so you can push it or pull it with the weight off your arms and on the ground for maximum maneuverability.
You know, I used to hate going through crowded airports. Now it's so easy, quick, and smooth.
Make your next trip an easy one with a new Easy Cart from the family of Samsonite Brands. Samsonite, Lark, and American Tourister.
Your family. You'd give your life for them. But that's not what they want. They just want you to stay healthy. Yet if you have high cholesterol, you could be at risk of a first heart attack, even if you have no signs of any heart problems. And the fact is, about 1/3 don't survive their first heart attack. Call 1-800-PREVENT to find out about treatment plans that could help you cut your chances of a first heart attack and live a longer, healthier life. Call your doctor or 1-800-PREVENT.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see.
Feeling safe. Being secure. It's why more families rely on Buick LeSabre than any other full-size sedan. Peace of mind from LeSabre.
Everybody loves a wedding, but what about this or this? Same-sex marriage.
How long will the kiss be?
Joy, tears, controversy. See how everybody feels on Turning Point tonight on ABC.
At the White House today, the subject was resignations. To the list of cabinet members who have decided to call it quits, add the name of Transportation Secretary Federico Pena. But the man who occupied President Clinton's attention today was Warren Christopher. ABC's Britt Hume on the Secretary of State and what his departure means for Mr. Clinton.
The president publicly accepted Christopher's resignation, citing his efforts from Haiti to Bosnia to the Middle East. He praised the secretary as a man of quiet dignity, which he said masks a steely determination.
The cause of peace and freedom and decency have never had a more tireless or tenacious advocate.
The president yielded Christopher the floor with an embrace that appeared momentarily to surprise the always reserved secretary. But Christopher's own emotion showed when his expressions of thanks turned to Mrs. Christopher.
I'm especially grateful to my wife, Marie, who has supported me with love and fresh orange juice every morning through 4 adventures in Washington and through next month 40 years of happy marriage.
Christopher will stay until a successor is named, one of many personnel choices the president faces. The first decision the president must make is on a new chief of staff, and aides say he wants his former deputy chief of staff, Erskine Bowles. The amiable Bowles, a sometime Clinton golfing partner, left government less than a year ago and is said to be reluctant to return. It was unclear tonight if he would do it. There has also been speculation on the fate of Attorney General Janet Reno, whose independent ways have frequently annoyed the White House. But she is a symbol of rectitude in an administration facing numerous investigations, and the White House is hesitant to push her out. She gave no sign today she's about to resign.
That decision is up to the president, and he's in the process of forming his administration for the next 4 years.
The president has called a news conference for tomorrow at which it was hoped he would name his new chief of staff. He may yet, but Erskine Bowles was still in North Carolina tonight, so just in case, the president will
actively try to discourage the Republicans. The administration mantra has become "the people have spoken."
There's been an awful lot of time and money spent looking at the president over the last 4 years. The American people saw through those investigations. They voted for the president.
Looming even larger for the White House is the lengthy probe into Whitewater, the travel office firings, and the FBI files by independent counsel Kenneth Starr. Sources say the White House is bracing for the possibility of several indictments of current or former administration officials. The White House and its advocates have been attacking Starr as a partisan Republican out to get the president. There is no sign that has slowed Starr down in the slightest. And the truth is, all the White House can do now is watch and wait for Starr's next move. Jackie Judd, ABC News, Washington.
On Wall Street, after gaining 96 points yesterday, the Dow Jones Industrials set another record high today. They gained more than 28 points to close at 62.06. On the NASDAQ market, stocks gained 8.5 points. Overseas, a cyclone with winds of 100 miles per hour has hit the southeast coast of India near the city of Hyderabad. At least 400 people are dead, many killed when the walls of their mud houses collapsed. Officials say the death toll could reach 2,000. Still overseas tonight, a story about unintended consequences. 10 years ago, Volkswagen commissioned a book to examine its past, including its ties to the Nazis, and it got more than it bargained for. The book out this week says that Volkswagen executives were eager accomplices of Adolf Hitler, who adopted the VW Beetle as a luxury toy. The book claims Volkswagen was the first to use Soviet prisoners of war for slave labor, as well as Jews from concentration camps. And it calls Volkswagen founder Ferdinand Porsche a Nazi who was, quote, morally indifferent. When we come back, a solution for millions of people who don't get the medical care they need.
I'm a little angry. If only I'd known how good Advil really is. Look, when I work, I move. The other day, everything stopped. I took Tylenol, didn't get rid of all the pain. Then my daughter Amy got hold of me. She's a doctor, you know. She told me I should be using Advil. She said 2 Advil handle tough pain better than any 2 extra-strength Tylenol. I know about Advil now, and I know it just works better.
And for a cold, try Advil Cold and Sinus. It's tough on colds like Advil is on pain.
Over the last 150 years, all kinds of companies that said they'd be there when you needed them didn't stand up to their promises. That's life. Our policy of thoughtful, prudent investing has kept us, well, a pillar of strength for the last 150 years. That's New York Life, the company you keep.
This is no ordinary toothbrush. This is the Braun Oral-B Ultra, clinically proven to remove plaque better than an ordinary toothbrush. Dentists say change your toothbrush every 3 months. We say change it forever. The new Braun Oral-B Ultra.
Breyers has created a spectacular dessert called Viennetta. But this delicious premium ice cream with its crispy, chocolatey layers could cause one small problem. Viennetta from Breyers. One slice is never enough.
I'm not everyone, I'm me. So when I decided to quit smoking, I did not choose that one-size-fits-all patch. I chose Nicorette gum. Nicorette has this flexible dosing schedule that helped me control my cravings. It let me use the strength I needed, the amount I needed when I needed it. Nicorette was personal. It fit me. You know, me the non-smoker. Me.
Commit to quit for the great American Smokeout on November 21st. You can do it. Nicorette can help.
World News Tonight continues. Now, solutions.
We're going to focus on your health tonight. In community after community, there are people who desperately need health services. And in those same communities, there are health professionals ready and able to serve them. But in many cases, the people in those communities don't even know the services exist. Tonight, Aaron Brown reports on a small solution that works.
There is no shortage of problems to be solved in the frequently run-down streets of East Baltimore.
Hi, Miss Bobby.
Deborah Everett is solving just one.
You gonna come down to my eye screening today?
She is reminding residents in the housing project she helps manage that they can get their eyes checked for free through a program called Sight and Soul.
We have some residents who can't read. We have some residents who are blind. We have some residents that even forget. And so it becomes my job to remind everybody. SB.
Those aren't the only obstacles to getting people here. For one, people are often leery that free really means free, that it's not a trick, another scam.
You had to pay?
I had to, oh yes I did. I try very hard to take go to any extent to let them know that this is actually a free exam.
Take this piece, say it on the bridge of your nose.
Sharon Ford and others like her are the real solution to this problem. They are just regular people from the community, trained by Sight and Soul to recruit their neighbors and perform very basic eye exams.
You have somebody from the community who speaks at their level, who speaks in words that they understand and doesn't talk above them.
And they build understanding between people in this neighborhood and the prestigious medical center just down the street. Since April, Sight and Soul has sent more than 150 people here to Johns Hopkins University and an eye clinic that is among the very best in the world. And the treatment they receive here is also provided free, if necessary, by the hospital and its doctors.
We are there to bridge the gaps between largely minority communities and largely academic medical centers and try to make those bridges really have meaningful results for people.
Sometimes solutions like getting health care to places like this require vast sums of money and grand plans. But for Sight and Soul, the costs are modest, the plan simple, and the most important resource is right in the neighborhood. Aaron Brown, ABC News, East Baltimore.
When we come back, a shot at Mars.
Their goals are as basic as a first home, an education, a secure retirement. Yet they own over half of all the stock in America. They are individual investors, and for them, nothing is more valuable than information. Today, NASDAQ is delivering news about companies, performance tracking, even timely stock quotes, instantly. So if you're an investor who seeks vital information, you now know where to find it.
On my side. Yes, it is.
People today are living longer and healthier lives. And at Nature Made, we like to think we've been a part of it. As the makers of vitamin and mineral supplements that are recommended by pharmacists more than 1,000 times a day. Nature Made, recommended by pharmacists, made for a lifetime.
My mama, she makes the best chicken cacciatore this side of Italy. The best. But sometimes I get heartburn from my mama's cacciatore. So before I come over, I take a Pepsid AC. Forgive me, mama.
Mio figlio adora il mio pollo alla cacciatore. Però io, dopo un pezzettino, che indigestione, devo prendere un Pepsid AC.
Before a meal or after, Pepsid AC lets you eat the food you love.
Guarda che faccia sto figlio mio.
You can be heartburn-free with Pepsid AC.
Finally tonight, a mission to Mars. The space agency today took the first step in a 10-year exploration effort to see if life once existed or might even still exist on Mars. A new kind of space probe blasted off from Cape Canaveral on a 435 million-mile voyage. ABC's Ned Potter tonight on the new interest in the red planet.
Somewhere on that distant world, something living may have left a chemical footprint, which is why people on our world are so anxious to explore it.
We have ignition, and we have liftoff.
Mars Global Surveyor left today on a 10-month journey. It's a low-budget mission cobbled together from leftover parts after another ship failed 3 years ago, but it has an ambitious job, to circle Mars, map the surface, and look for places where primitive life could have formed.
It has incredible technology, a very difficult, risky mission with the potential for enormous scientific returns.
This mission might have seemed routine to most Earthlings, if not for the lab findings from that meteorite last August, suggesting there may once have been microscopic life on Mars.
There has plenty of evidence of liquid water on the surface in its past, and because of that very fact, there's always the potential for life having arisen on Mars or even being there present today.
Global Surveyor can only orbit, but a second ship called Pathfinder will leave for Mars next month, landing with a 22-pound rover.
It's like sending a 22-pound geologist to the surface of Mars.
Pictures will come back live, accessible even on the internet. Scientists say it will be a decade or more before they have clear answers, but these missions should provide new hints about the question of life on Mars. Ned Potter, ABC News.
That is our report on World News Tonight. Later this evening on Turning Point, the controversy over same-sex marriages. Peter Jennings will be back tomorrow. I'm Forrest Sawyer. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.